Hi everyone, I'm Kat Ward. Thanks for joining me for 12 and a half minutes, the Founder Series, brought to you by Accelerator, one of Scotland's leading entrepreneurial and business support organisations. So hard to believe that we're coming to the end of the Founder Series. And in today's show, we're going to be focusing on one of our newest programmes that dates from 2017 called Grey Matters. Now, we know how important the oil and gas sector is, not only to the Scottish economy, but the British economy as a whole. So it was such a huge challenge when that sector went through a global downturn. As part of the response to that, Scottish Enterprise and Accelerator worked together to come up with a programme that would harness the experience and skills of the many senior and management team working in oil and gas, and utilising and harnessing their skills to develop new ventures and new businesses that could bolster the economy. So it's an absolute pleasure that I am joined today by two alumni from that programme, Dr. Andrew Jaffrey and Neil Gordon from Sentinel Subsea. Neil, Andrew, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Kat, for the invitation.
A pleasure to have you here today. I believe you're in your office, but you're both socially distancing.
We're two doors and about 10 meters away from each other, so we're fine.
Just the way we like it.
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, I am going to come back and have a chat to you in a few minutes, but over the next 2 or 3 minutes, perhaps you can tell us a little bit about yourselves and a little bit of background about Sentinel.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. My name's Neil Gordon. I'm CEO of a company that was founded during the Grey Matters process just over 2 years ago. And a bit about my background. I'm one of those who entered the industry in the late 70s, been in the industry 41 years. And like many of my colleagues, kind of worked my way up from the drill floor to senior management positions and decided to retire at the end of 2017. Very quickly found out that that was a bad decision, because if you've been in our industry, you know it's kind of go, and come to a dead stop pretty quickly was hard work. So I read in the newspapers about this program called the Grey Matters. They were going to start cohort 2. And I had a good old friend of mine called Dave Shand, who was in cohort 1, and spoke to him about it. And he said, no, it's a great program. Get on it. And then you'll find out a lot of things. So I entered the program, and across a crowded room in February 2018, Andrew and I met. And so I'll let Andrew explain a little bit about himself as well before we talk about what we're doing.
My career, which hasn't entirely been oil and gas, has been a mere 35 years, so I'm the youngster. A series of misadventures rather than a career, culminating as Director of Technology and Innovation at a large service company. My coming to a full stop was involuntary, let's put it that way. So I came into Grey Matters with a slightly different outlook from Neil, but despite that, our paths, our vision is aligned, and it's been a real roller coaster ever since.
Absolutely. And one thing I was thinking about going to say was, I was lucky to enter into this industry at a point where it was really getting going in the northeast of Scotland in 1979. In a kind of weird way, I was sort of lucky to be at a loose end at a point where this ecosystem was beginning to be developed around the northeast with OGTC, OGIC, Grey Matters, Accelerator, which have been a huge support for us through our journey. I mean, I can honestly say we would not be here if those sort of organizations were not in place. So that's fantastic. And what do we do? Well, we've developed a system for monitoring oil and gas wells, subsea oil and gas wells. It's environmentally friendly, so that's very important in these days with increased scrutiny from kind of outside parties, the oil and gas industry. And monitoring to ensure that there's no unwanted emissions and everything's safe, and we as an industry do things correctly, which we do. So that's really what we're about. And over to you, Kat, if you want to ask some probing questions of us.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best today. Jeremy Paxman, I don't think. So fantastic to hear about what you're doing. I'm interested, before we talk about the Grey Matters Programme, I'm interested to find out a little bit more about Sentinel. I guess it would be fair to say that the oil and gas sector maybe hasn't been known for innovation. I think someone referred to the race to be second. Can you tell me a wee bit more about that and how what you're doing is challenging and different from what's happening in oil and gas?
Yeah, I mean, because the costs of drilling a well are enormous, the risk aversion to trying new technology is totally understandable. And if you look at what the oil and gas industry has done over the years, there's a huge amount of innovation that's gone in. It's just quite slow. That's the problem. You need to find that if you're a disruptive technology like we are, you need to find supporters in the industry. And again, being Grey, that's one thing we have is a lot of contacts, and that helps in those things. And it just takes time. And again, that's why that kind of ecosystem has really helped us come along the way. But once an innovation, I was involved in a business 10 years ago called managed pressure drilling, which is a new way of drilling wells. That was innovative, it was disruptive, it was challenging. And at that point, there was a race to be second on that. Now, 10 years later, you can't rent a rig ready to do managed pressure drilling. So that's the kind of timescale things take. Andrew, I don't know if you got anything to add to that.
Well, I'm not sure. I think we seem to be about a few wee gremlins with delays. I don't know if everybody else is seeing that, but hopefully it's not too bad. No, I think there is that, and it's the stepping into the unknown. Somebody has to take that chance, and what does it mean to them as an individual, particularly if it's in an area that can have public consequences, if you like. The people can not be seen to be succeeding on occasion, but they'll certainly be seen to be failing on occasion. And so obviously you want to increase one and decrease the other. So there are pressures there, but when something different like our solution comes along, then you can find people who are prepared to take that step into the unknown. And we've had some fantastic support from operating companies and others.
Yeah. We actually had an operator around our premises yesterday, socially distant, and they were quite clear. They said, unless the industry is willing to take chances, to take on new innovation, we won't progress. So there is a mindset out there. You just got to find where it is.
Do you think that the downturn then was a bit of a double-edged sword?
Yes. Certainly the one through, say, late 13 into early 17, that was a kind of a milder downturn, for the want of a better word. So that when all these new initiatives started up, OGTC, bringing new innovation, there's no margin left in the supply chain to squeeze. So the only way we can actually progress the industry is to look at doing things differently. So that kind of morphed across into the more brutal downturn, the kind of double whammy we've had just recently with the coronavirus and the downturn in oil and gas demand or drilling. They were already there, so it's kind of come across quite well.
And how has business been during the pandemic, or how is business during the pandemic?
For us, we've never been busier. We made a decision right at the start of lockdown to power on. We were kind of lucky because we weren't commercial yet, so we hadn't brought in lots of stock and everything like that. So we could manage at that kind of low level of expenditure as we went through. But we decided to power on. Brought in some new technologies, brought in some new ways we're doing things. We contracted ourselves with Heriot-Watt University to develop some, and it's just been absolutely mad, to the point where actually we're putting out commercial proposals now for a significant number of wells. So we've just gone from stage all the way through, which has been great. You know, we just decided let's just keep going, and it's been great.
Fantastic. Let's chat about Grey Matters. Fair to say a programme that changed both your lives?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what was your driver? What did you both want to get out of it? Because you've got both, you know, when you talked about the huge amount of experience, we won't even say how many years together you've accumulated experience you've got in both in many industry sectors. But in terms of what you wanted to learn, what was your driver?
I'll let Andrew answer first, I think. Yeah.
Oh, very generous of you. For me, well, as I said earlier, our drivers were different. I was coming at it from an unplanned availability, shall we say, and having been told every day for 2 years that I was too senior, too highly qualified, too experienced to be of any hope of working for anybody else. When this came along, it was a fantastic opportunity. It got me out of the house. It gave me a real purpose, introduced me to a group of like-minded people. And it was very much the case that what you got in, you got back out in spades. You know, if you were prepared to go in with an open mind, learn new things, which for folk our age, our backgrounds, isn't the sort of default position that you might expect. And I remember Neil saying that it felt as though that 40 years of his experience was being unraveled, unpicked, and then kind of rebuilt through the various presentations that we had, all the different coverage, all the new ways of doing things. And we were able to embrace that. And it was tremendous because it gave us a clarity of purpose and tremendous support within the group. But people like John Harris, Karen Clark, was fantastic running the programme.
Yeah, for me, it was curiosity, really. And I thought I'd go in and kind of make some networks, maybe look, help some other companies to use my experience, because that was always my desire at the end of my career, was to help startups and maybe give them non-exec stuff, things like that. And then before I knew it, as Andrew said, my brain had been picked apart by John Harris, rebuilt into this entrepreneurial machine, and then I crossed the Rubicon, and 2 years later, here we are on the cusp of something magnificent. So it was a life-changing experience. That's all I can say. And I met Andrew. So
your eyes met across a crowded room, as you
said.
said.
Met across a crowded room.
They did, and it's been an experience ever since. We come at
we actually met in the back of the room grumbling about everything all the time, didn't we, Andrew?
Yeah, one of the reasons it works so well is our solution is based on chemistry, but the success of the team is based on chemistry. You're seeing 2 of the faces today, but there are 5 in the team, and they all have the fortune of not being quite as old. But the balance of the team, creating that diversity of experience, outlook. Neil and I are opposites on many, many things, but again, that's one of the reasons why it works. The complementary aspect of it, not just the technical element or the commercial element, but so many other characteristics that it's been one of the underlying factors of the success, I would say.
And I think just one last point on that, the success of Grey Matters, and I think the success of startups that are started up by more mature people, is we've made so many mistakes over the years of our careers. We've made a lot of mistakes, and you learn from those mistakes. And so it's a kind of that experience littered with problems really helps you when you got a startup going. So I think that's why Grey Matters has been so successful and is a successful program.
So we're believe it or not, almost coming to the end of our chat. It's been fascinating. One final question for both of you. We're going to have people watching this that are thinking about putting an application in, maybe thinking, oh, I don't know, maybe I've, maybe it's not for me. What would you say to anyone that's sitting there thinking, oh, I'm not sure whether to go for it or not?
do it.
Yeah.
Do it with conviction, because you will find you're drawn into it, and unless you're 100% committed to doing something, you got to go at it 100%. It's not something you can do halfway. So
No.
if you're convinced, if you're again more mature, if you've got the last big hurrah, here's your idea, finally you're going to do it. Absolutely do it.
Yeah. Yes, do it without question. But be aware, you don't necessarily have to have an exceptional idea. You will meet other people. Some of them will have exceptional ideas, and you will all spark off each other, and something tremendous can result from it. So yes, absolutely do it.
Brilliant. Well, Andrew, Neil, thank you both for your time. All power to Sentinel. I hope your future is rosy. We will no doubt, we speak to you on a regular basis at Elevator, so we'll no doubt be part of that journey with you. So, gentlemen, thank you both for your time this afternoon.
And thank you very much, Kat. Thank you very much, Kat, and everyone enjoy your weekends.
Yep.
Thank you. So, my goodness, what a way to finish our Founders series of 12 and a half minutes. What a pleasure, and what so much insight and inspiration from Andrew and Neil. And I say every success to Sentinel in the future. I'm sure the future is rosy. So, yeah, it's the end of the Founders series, but it's not the end of 12 and a half minutes. So back in the hot seat next week is going to be my colleague, Andy Campbell. And Andy is here. We're going to do that seamless handover that you see on all the best TV programmes, eh, Andy?
How you doing, Kat?
All right.
Did you enjoy the last 5 weeks, Kat?
Yes, there've been a few highlights. I think when we do the outtakes version, it will be interesting. But you should have been recording some of the stuff that didn't end up on screen.
Yeah, all the bloopers and the bits before we go live in this show. It's been great, and Kat, you were right there at the inception of 12 and a half minutes, and I thought it'd be good to let those people know where the whole idea and concept, and in particular where this 12 and a half minutes came from, Kat.
So, well, this the credit has to go to one of our agitators on the Accelerator Programme in Dundee, and that's Vickers van Biljon, who is a fantastic supporter of Elevator. And obviously, we challenge all our founders to get out there and validate and speak to people and get feedback about their customer problems. And sometimes what people will say to us is, well, I can't get in front of someone. I can't get a meeting. I've emailed this person umpteen times and they're not acknowledging me. And Vickers says, I have a fail-safe way of guaranteeing you will be able to get in front of someone. You say to them, I only need 12 and a half minutes of your time. And most people will be so intrigued that they will pick up the phone and you'll get your meeting.
It's a technique that clearly worked for Vickers, and I think it does work for some of our founders. They will pick up the phone and just say, can I have 12 and a half minutes of your time? It's also the perfect duration for a cup of tea as well, Kat, is it not?
It certainly is. I've missed out on my cups of tea these last couple of weeks, which is a mistake. But yeah, you've got a new mug there ready to go.
I know. Do you know my other mug? I pulled the handle off it. I was bringing it out the dishwasher, and I just like pulled it out, and the handle came away in my hand. So I've now got another semi-spacey one with all the planets.
Well, it's a bit like having a new pencil case. You've got a new mug for the next season. But it's been great. The last 5 weeks, we've met some amazing people.
Yeah.
I mean, some of your thoughts. You've worked with many founders over the years, Andy. Yeah. What makes a successful founder in your eyes?
Do you know? I think it's. I mean, we've ran a number of programs at Elevator now, all the different accelerators from Murray, Aberdeen, Dundee, Perth, and I think one of the things about the programs is you only get out of it what you put into it. And we often say about the accelerator programs, we don't accelerate the companies. We don't have a magic wand or press a button and do or tell you something that instantaneously just accelerates your business. the founders accelerate themselves, and that's what I guess you and I will be the exact same, Kat. We've got the easy job. We stand back in admiration of these people who just absolutely bring it to their business, and they transform it quite literally in front of our eyes over the number of weeks that we have the pleasure of their company. They soak up the information, they soak up the learning, they're brave, they try new stuff. And I think for me, it's the founders that work hard at trying the new things. They allow themselves to be pushed out of their comfort zones that I think they get great benefits from. But what about yourself, Kat? Founder's journey, it's quite an interesting one.
It is, it's fascinating. And I think what's also fascinating is it doesn't stop at the end of 12 weeks or 16 weeks. It keeps going. And that's what's been fantastic. And we've been speaking to people like Andrew and Neil and Mikey and whatever over the last 5 weeks, is that journey keeps going. Yeah. I also think the notion of the open growth mindset is so important. You know, being prepared to be challenged about your idea. And it's really tough for people because this is their baby, and in many cases they've worked for years to come up with an idea or a concept, and actually maybe accepting that that's not what the customer needs or wants, and they actually have to pivot it. It's a difficult thing to do. So you're right, you know, they are the bravest people in the room. We always say that.
We always do say that. And I had a session earlier on with our agitators. And for anyone that's out there listening or watching back on this, agitators play such an important role in the programs that we deliver, because agitators who have been there, seen it and done it, out in the field, out in industry, running or growing their own businesses or being part of organizations, you have got so much value to be able to give back to our founders. So if you're interested in getting involved, connect in with any one of the staff at Elevator and see what you can do to give back, to be that support, to be that helping hand, to be that shoulder to cry on, or perhaps to be the challenger that pushes that company beyond what they can do. We all play a vital part in shaping that ecosystem that we have here in Scotland that Elevator play a big part of. So if you're interested in agitation, completely encourage you to get back and get involved in that. And time doesn't stop for us, of course. Kat, we've got a lot coming up in the Elevator diary as far as accelerators go, have we not?
Absolutely. So we kick off our autumn series on Monday the 7th. So that's our flagship accelerator programs in Dundee and Aberdeen, although everything's operating remotely. I use those terms loosely. And also our famous Grouse Ideas Centre, Innovation Centre, Creative Accelerator Programme, which is normally based in Perth. And so I think in total we're going to have over 50 founders through that. And then also Grey Matters coming up soon as well, Andy.
Yeah, so that's a huge number, isn't it? 50 founders coming through Elevator's virtual doors, because we're doing everything online because of this issue that we're facing right now with COVID. We've made the switch seamlessly, and the staff at Elevator and our colleagues at Business Gateway have just overnight turned in a dime to be able to deliver our services online, to make sure that if you are thinking of starting a business or looking at growing your business, the support is there when you need it. But the programs that we run, the accelerator programs, that's quite a number of companies that we'll be working with. I've got my notes down here. So on the headlines, the MSIP accelerator program as well will be running. So that's a sustainable mobility and low carbon accelerator program that we're running in partnership with MSIP Dundee and Scottish Enterprise. So you can check out our website, elevatoruk.com, for all the information on that. And Grey Matters, applications for the Grey Matters program, and we heard from the two guys from Sentinel Subsea, that's a unique program because that doesn't just accelerate businesses, that actually creates brand new enterprises, totally unique. It creates new businesses. If you're thinking of that program, it's a really tremendous program that we run up in Aberdeen. 16th of October is the deadline for that, and the 5th of November is when cohorts 5 and 6 commence. So an exciting time ahead. So, Kat, you're passing the baton over to you for
I should have a mug or something that I pass seamlessly across.
I know which way do you point.
That way.
I know, it's always
everything's a mirror image. Just listen me. This is too much for a Friday afternoon. Yes, and what have you got lined up, Andy?
Well, yeah, we've got a whole batch of brilliant guests coming up. So please make sure that you tune in to future broadcasts of 12.5 minutes. So they'll be kicking off next Friday. And I think we're also going fortnightly as well. So we get a little break in the middle. But our next guest is Yvette Hopkins, coming up next Friday. So I'm delighted to be chatting with her. And she is at the Shetland Space Centre. And as you can probably see from just behind me over my shoulder here, it'll be one space geek talking to another space geek. So that should be good fun. But I'm going to disappear off the screen because this is your last show for now, Kat. You will be back.
Just like Bond.
So I'm going to disappear off the screen, Kat, and let you wrap up the show. All right.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks for having me, Kat. Yes.
So yeah, thank you very much, everybody, for joining me for the last 5 weeks. It's been a blast. I hope you've been inspired either to sign up for one of our future programmes or to come on board as an agitator or supporter. The entrepreneurial ecosystem in Scotland needs you, and our economy needs our amazing businesses. So thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful weekend, and don't forget, be brave. Thank you.